Welcome back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast. And before we jump into our third segment, I really messed up that last one. I was freaking out about the contract extension given out to Trevor Lawrence just now. I don't get a chance to use the breaking news part of this system, so that really got me excited. $55 million per year for Trevor Lawrence. That's going to create a lot of discussion. I had Emran and Kenneth on here, other hosts of podcast on here on the GSMC Sports Network, and I think Trevor Lawrence was the one we least expected to get an extension this massive, but he is tied down for the next 5 years with the Jaguars, and he becomes tied for first for the highest earning quarterback contract in the NFL. I can't wait to talk about that more tomorrow, but for right now, we're going to continue on with the segment I just mentioned. Travis Kelce speaking on his NFL future. Recently, Travis Kelce signed an extension with the Kansas City Chiefs to stay with the team for the next 3 seasons. He is 34 years old right now, and as the mandatory minicamp starts for the Kansas City Chiefs this week, and Kelce's back out there competing, being there with his teammates for another season in the NFL. He talked to the local media there after practice and just discuss his future a little bit, saying, obviously, I know that there's opportunities outside of football for me, and I think you have to keep in perspective that I'm still a little kid when I come into this building, and he said he's just playing it by ear. He'll play until the wheels fall off, were his exact terms in those comments he mentioned there with the media after practice this week. And you look at Travis Kelce now, and his trajectory, it has still been pretty steady and pretty steadily exceptional for a tight end now heading into 34 years old and being closer to the end of his career than the beginning of his career. Obviously, you would have expected maybe a dip or at least a plateau. I guess it has plateaued, but right at the top, still performing very well for the Kansas City Chiefs and for his age. The stats don't really show any decline in him, like I mentioned, too much. He was 16 yards shy of his 8th consecutive 1,000-yard season this past year in 2023. Before that, he had 7 consecutive, obviously, 1,000-yard seasons. That was the record for tight ends in NFL history, 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with 7. And he had 984 yards last year. That was his lowest since 2015. So it really just shows that from that point on, and especially when Patrick Mahomes came into the league, he just really took his game to another level. He was decent back then, 2015, 2016, but he really took it to a whole different level. One where I don't think a lot of people had it penciled in that he would realistically reach these heights, especially playing this late. But when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, they could definitely extend your career like it has Travis Kelce, and also congratulate to his own merit and for how well he has produced and just gotten better over the years. That definitely holds its own weight. But now we're sort of starting to see him perform better, maybe not in an entire regular season or just projecting more into these next years of this extension. Where I'm sort of projecting him to be at is maybe his numbers in the regular season go down because you want to keep him healthy, you want to keep him playing as long as possible. But in the postseason where you really make your money and cement your legacy, this past postseason he played as good as he's ever had in any postseason in his career. He had a total of 32 receptions for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns in this postseason. 11 receptions for 116 yards in just the AFC Championship game, and then 9 receptions for 93 yards in the Super Bowl. So if Travis Kelce, now talking about this future and what I sort of envision him transitioning into, seeing now not so much being this dominant figure in the regular season, but maybe transitioning to being this late season performer where you not load manage, because I don't think you could really do that in the NFL, but if you could just preserve yourself, maybe not go too crazy in the regular season, and people will look at his stats and think, oh, he's really slowing down, or he's not the same Travis Kelce. But if you continue to perform like this in the postseason, that's really honestly what it comes down to and what really matters at the end of the day, because they're on the brink of history right now, chasing that three-peat. Never been done in NFL history, and of course this season maybe has more pressure than any other season just because you are right there on the brink of history. But at the same time, if you can achieve that, then I don't think anybody's going to make a big deal about, oh, he didn't do that well in this regular season. It won't really matter if they do go out and win the Super Bowl, and if he is as dominant as he was in next postseason, this coming one, than he was in this past one. I think that'll just continue to build his legacy, build his resume, and again, nobody will really care if his regular season wasn't up to par, unless it's really bad. Again, it won't make a difference. And then Travis Kelce continued on with more quotes, and now this will lead into my next question I have about Travis Kelce and the Chiefs. He said, "Seeing where the team is now, you have to find a way to play your best from this point on, all the way, hopefully, till January and February." And that, again, sparks my next question, and what I'm really wondering what this development will be like for not only Travis Kelce heading towards the end of his career, but with the Kansas City Chiefs as well, because you expect Patrick Mahomes to have a good amount of time left in him. And where do the Chiefs look now to find that next reliable weapon other than just Travis Kelce? Because if it goes according to plan, how I'm thinking of it, and maybe you don't rely too much on Travis Kelce in the regular season, you're still going to need someone to step up for you and sort of develop into that go-to guy for Patrick Mahomes. If it doesn't have to be Travis Kelce, of course, that relationship will still be there with Kelce, but I think now is an optimal opportunity where you have a window now with Travis Kelce on probably his last extension with the Chiefs to find somebody and still have that security blanket in Travis Kelce, because the last thing you want to do, like a lot of teams do with their quarterbacks and other positions of high significance, is they wait until they're finally out the door and then they try over and over and over again and fail over and over and over again to find that next guy. And that's where you get very much these dip in performances, these droughts of or no playoff success, very bad regular seasons, and no team really has a backup plan or a game plan for life after this generational type of player. Now, I think the Chiefs are presented with a great opportunity to try and find that guy, and it doesn't have to necessarily be another tight end. That's where some of these wide receivers come into the picture, and where I think in years past with these receivers, they've had a few now that have sort of come in and sort of have been, let go of, have been shown the door in this Patrick Mahomes era with Travis Kelce. Not for anybody's fault, but I think because Travis Kelce is so great, he really deserves to be that number one option, and it almost seems like there's not enough room or not enough balls to go around for two guys to be that alpha and that number one in there. You look at the recent history, just in this Patrick Mahomes era, you've had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill obviously moves on. Then you have Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce and Mecole Hardman. Then you transition again to Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, who had a pretty decent year last year. And now you bring in Xavier Worthy and draft him. Maybe he could step into that number one role, or you could have sort of a dynamic duo there with Worthy and Rashee Rice. That could be another option. It doesn't have to just be one guy. Maybe you have two receivers here that could take you into the future, and also throwing in there Marquise Brown as well. I think maybe they could transition that way, and they have a great opportunity now that I think not enough people are talking about, and that they really have to take advantage of, because like I mentioned before, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you have arguably one of, if not the best quarterbacks in NFL history, and you're struggling to find his next go-to guy, all this support around him, and you're constantly disappointing season after season, where Patrick Mahomes now is pretty much in his prime. It seems like he has been in his prime throughout his entire time in the NFL, but you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're scrambling, trying to find solutions where you don't really have the right mindset to, because you're sort of desperate to find one. That's my biggest question now after Travis Kelce sort of brings up this topic of maybe being closer to retirement after his contract extension is up. This could be very helpful for the Chiefs if they play it outright. In an ideal world, you get that three-peat, you continue to have decent success with Travis Kelce, even if you don't win Super Bowls after this year. But those other guys develop into very solid, very good, elite number one receivers, and you can make that transition very seamlessly after Travis Kelce has moved on. That is ideally what would happen, but we'll see how it all plays out in the end. Nothing really goes according to plan in the NFL. There's always twists and turns and audibles you have to make. So that's ideally what would happen, but we'll see how it all ends up. Comment here from Beth. I hope I'm saying this right. Beth, Bears fan. Hi to you as well. But we're going to move on from this topic, and we're going to head into another quick break here. When we return, we're going to talk about two other topics, some more running back rankings in the AFC North this time. Very, very stacked running back group in this division. We're going to talk about that, and also talking about second overall draft pick Jaden Daniels and how he's adjusting to the Washington Commanders and how he could potentially mask the limitations I see at wide receiver for them. Is he up for the challenge? We're going to talk about it in just a few seconds. Don't go anywhere.